Everyone is in debt, but to whom exactly? Ever noticed? There are no debt-free countries left in the world. The USA's debt has passed $38 trillion. Europe's is around 14 trillion. Japan, you ask? It's approaching 9 trillion. Even oil-rich Saudi Arabia is in debt. Germany, China, even Switzerland are part of this chain. But wait a minute. If everyone is in debt, where is all this money going? The answer is more complicated than you think. When we say debt, we usually think of a burden, right? But in reality, this is the very foundation of the modern world: wars, crises, growth. Everything revolves around this invisible web of debt, and when you follow that chain a little, you arrive at something strange. The world isn't really indebted to anyone. It's indebted to itself. But of course, this doesn't mean everyone is earning equally. It all started with a war. The year 1694. England is at war with France. The gold has run out. There's no money in the treasury. The king goes to the merchants and says, "Give me money, and I will pay you interest. I'll make the payments from future taxes." And thus, the Bank of England is established. The state begins to spend money it doesn't yet have. That day, history changes, because now, debt is not a shame, but a sign of trust. Whoever can take on the most debt is considered the most powerful. Empires used to fight for gold. Now they issue bonds for interest. The battlefield is now the financial statements. Debt today. The world's heartbeat. Centuries have passed, but the system remains the same. Debt is now the world's biggest export. The USA is 38 trillion in debt, Japan over 9 trillion, and every 100 days, global debt increases by $1 trillion. Everyone is a debtor, everyone is a creditor: governments, banks, we citizens, our taxes, our pension funds, our salaries, all are turning within this wheel. But we still have the same question in our minds: who is at the other end of the rope? United States. Who does America owe? Half of the USA's $38 trillion debt is actually to its own people, banks, funds, insurance companies, even its own central bank. Foreigners, just a small part. Japan 1 trillion, China 800 billion. Meaning, not even 2% of the total. In short, America is actually indebted to itself. The government issues bonds, banks buy them, the central bank buys them back, new dollars are printed. A kind of mirror game. The debt is real, but the creditor is also from within the same system. The global cycle. And this isn't just in America. Japan lends to the USA to Europe via the IMF, Europe to developing countries. And they, in turn, invest their earnings back into Western bonds. Like a poker table, everyone is holding someone else's debt chip, and as long as no one gets up, the game continues. The most powerful players, central banks today, the real power that decides who can borrow and who will be blocked, are funds, investors, and central banks. Is trust lost, the currency collapses, the government falls. Democracy chooses who will govern, but the markets determine who will stand, and the high priests of this game, the central banks. Money equals debt. Central banks don't just manage debt, they create money from debt. They buy a bond, and in return, print new money, meaning, every dollar in circulation is actually a debt. There is no such thing as debt-free money. Investors don't believe the state will pay the principal, but that it will pay the interest. The system turns on this trust, but if the trust ends, the examples of Greece, Argentina, and Sri Lanka are plain to see. Debt is not repaid, it is rolled over. In the modern economy, nobody pays their debt in full, they just roll it over. They cover old debts with new bonds. The interest payment is now the fuel of the system. Just like a shark that has to keep swimming, if borrowing stops, the system stops. The USA will never fully pay its debt. Japan has been living for decades with a debt of 250% of its GDP. No one expects repayment, only renewal. Because government debt is no longer a liability, but an asset. Debt, the heartbeat of capitalism. Debt is the rhythm of the economy. Every salary, every investment, every fund beats to that rhythm. That's why politicians who say, "We will zero the debt," are just selling a dream. The goal is not to end the debt, but to keep it sustainable. If trust goes, everything freezes. The truth is, the plan was never to pay the debt, the plan was to make the world believe it would be paid. The system is built entirely on trust, but that trust is not distributed equally. Interest payments flow from the bottom up, from the workers, from the taxpayers, to the investors. Debt is not just a transfer between countries, but also between classes, and yes, we are all in this. Will governments issue it, banks multiply it, and we live with that money. Debt was once slavery, today, it means balance. But if that balance is broken one day, everyone will remember, debt is a promise that cannot be kept forever. If you're curious for more, subscribe, because history doesn't tell what it hides to just anyone, but it whispers to those who ask the right questions.